In the 1930s, a young psychiatrist working in a London child guidance clinic observed how many of the emotionally disturbed children he saw had been separated from their mothers in early life. This was John Bowlby, whose work would change the way psychologists thought about child development. His key idea was attachment.
Attachment can really refer to any close relationship between two individuals, but in developmental psychology it's typically used to describe the relationship between a parent or a carer and a young child.
After the Second World War, Bowlby developed his ideas further by studying children who had been separated from their parents or been left orphaned by the war. And in 1951 he published his first statement of attachment theory. Up till then it had been assumed that attachment was simply something babies learned.
And the idea here is that first of all we need food. Food is a primary drive, and that our relationship with the mother or primary caregiver evolves because we associate her with providing that food.
So in this behaviourist approach, attachment just develops out of being fed and cared for. But for Bowlby, attachment was much, much deeper than this.
Just as Chomsky was to argue that young children came into the world with a capacity for language, so Bowlby suggested they came into it with a capacity for love and to inspire love. So babies aren't just the passive recipients of care, they're active participants.
They grab. I don't know if it's a need of like security or something as well, and they sort of grab, and when you feed them their bottle they sort of play with your fingers.
So these are what Bowlby calls the attachment behaviour system, which is things like crying, smiling, clinging to fingers. You notice that if you interact with young infants, they very much cling very tightly to the finger.
We feed him in his bottle, he touches my ears and and he pulls your hair a little bit sometimes with his hands.
And all of these behaviours are designed to get the caregiver's attention and to keep the caregiver close to the child.
You can tell when he needs something, and also he tends to put his head in your shoulders as well when you're a parent. If they're scared of someone, they'll cry, or they sort of bury their head in your chest and everything in your shoulders, and you can sort of tell straight away if he needs anything. And
In Bowlby's theory, the origins of attachment are evolutionary. The child has an innate need to bond to an attachment figure.
I think that attachment is programmed into us, and this was one of the contributions that John Bowlby made. He was the first person to suggest that children have a biologically determined drive to form a relationship with a person.